Well, it's officially official. The Mountaineers have picked up their first commitment of the transfer portal season. Javin Buchanan of Boise State, man. Welcome to Morgantown. We're happy to have you. We're going to break it down here on this episode of Mountaineer Moment.
This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mountaineer Moment. My name's Troy, and this is your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. Episode 187 of Mountaineer Moment, man. Giving you all the breaking news here on this episode, man. We would love for you to subscribe to Mountaineer Moment. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever platform you're on, YouTube, or if you're listening on our audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Man, help us grow this fast-growing Mountaineer Moment community. The latest videos have been doing some pretty good numbers, and super thankful and appreciative, man. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. And for this episode, man, it's all things Javin Buchanan, this commit from Boise State, breaking news here on Saturday morning. And, man, we wanted to jump on real quick and give you this episode. We've talked about him, and it's interesting. You know, we knew earlier in the week, man, as we just jump right into things here, we knew a few days ago he was coming on a visit to Morgantown. And, you know, there's a lot of names, obviously, West Virginia has been linked to as far as their interest level and maybe a mutual interest level. But then to see, you know, a couple of these guys, and we'll talk about one later on too, who were interested enough to take a visit, and, you know, you began to form thoughts of like, man, this could be real, this could be legit, this could be something we see happening. And sure enough, it is. Javin Buchanan commits to play for the Mountaineers. Now, he's an interesting situation, one of the couple guys we've talked about who will need a waiver. And I really don't know all of the details as to what that's going to look like or the percentage chance that he'll be available. Like, I don't know. But we'll just have to wait and see. What I do know, obviously, is that Ross Hodge and company feel confident that he would receive a waiver and be eligible to play, you know, here coming up in the, you know, this season ahead. You know, just an interesting situation there. Obviously, he spent 2 years at an NAIA school in Indiana, and so they're going to need a rule change or a waiver. Will the Mountaineers to be able to see him play? But he spent the last 2 seasons at Boise State, and again, we'll break down his game and what I like and some things that I think that he can bring to Morgantown should he be ruled eligible. But again, worth noting, we've talked about him already when he was a possibility, maybe even a likely possibility, and now he's 100% committed. So we'll talk about what he brings to the table in Morgantown. And it's interesting because, yeah, I mean, you can begin to see West Virginia and teams across the country, the things that they prioritize, right? You know, your initial commits, especially if you're in a situation where West Virginia is in, and a lot of teams across the country are, where you're really needing to do a lot of work in the portal to fill out your roster. West Virginia looking to do that yet again here in the 2026-27 season, and Buchanan was apparently high on that list. I mean, there's no debating that. You know, you got to add a lots of players to fill out your roster, and that first commit that you get is a big one, and it's Buchanan. And so he was high on their list, and I'll talk to you about why I think that he was a priority. Has he been their top priority? I don't know. You know, there's obviously been conversations that we've had here on Mountaineer Moment, previous episodes. You can go check out a full episode talking about Mohamed Sila out of Georgia Tech, the center, who had a good freshman campaign that was cut short due to injury, but Mountaineers are linked to him along with other teams in the country. There's a Bella Vista connection there, you know, with Sila. So interesting name to monitor there. But if I had to guess, and this really is a guess, I think those two names, Sila and Buchanan, would be the top two targets West Virginia is trying to get. And you're not going to get every target that you go after, but they do get Buchanan, and he's the first one. He's the first one to commit. So as we break down his game a little bit, particularly the last couple seasons at Boise State, you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but had to jump on and record this for you guys. So he spent the last 2 seasons at Boise State. He was sixth man of the year in the conference in the 24-25 season, where he averaged almost 10 points off the bench, 37 games played, 20 minutes per game, shot it at 32% from 3, almost 4 boards a game as well, active defensively. And the Mountain West, I mentioned this on Locked On West Virginia with Mountaineer Paul, man, the Mountain West isn't like, isn't a one, the way you can look at it as far as their league and how good of a league it is. It's not a one-bid league in the NCAA tournament, man. This is a conference that gets multiple teams every year into the field, and rightfully so. And so when you think, well, he's not coming from the ACC or the SEC or the Big Ten, he's coming from the next best in the Mountain West, because there's a big difference between the Mountain West and the Horizon League or the Big Sky or whatever. Fill in the blank. Some of these teams that are one-bid leagues. Mountain West is no joke, and so he was playing against some high-level quality competition, and in 24-25, making the jump from the NAIA school, he averaged almost 10 points a game, won 6th man of the year in the conference, and then he was inserted into the starting lineup, started 31 games this most recent season for a team that won 20 games, 28 minutes played, almost 13 points per game, 5 boards, an assist and a half a game, and shot it at, again, 32% from 3 and 84% from the free throw line while getting there almost 5 times a game. He had a game against San Jose State that we'll talk about now, because I was going to say we'll talk about it later, but I'll probably forget. Against San Jose State, the last game of his career at Boise, where they were upset in the Mountain West first round to San Jose State. He led the team in scoring for Boise. He scored 28 points, and what I like about that 28 points is that he didn't make a 3, which is, it's like, okay, well, why do you like that? Well, because he showed a way to be efficient and productive and lead a team in scoring in a game where his shot simply wasn't falling, right? He was 0 for 5 from 3, and yet he still managed to score 28 points. He had 13 rebounds, and he was 14 of 16 from the free throw line. So he was getting to the line early and often. He was active in the game, had a couple steals in that one, had 4 offensive rebounds. And again, it's just a lot of times you see, and again, I'm not going to, well, I guess we will compare him a little bit to what we've seen in Morgantown, even just this past season. Is there a guy on West Virginia's roster in 25-26 who could have went 0 for 5 from 3 and still managed to have an impact like this on the game? Maybe Brendan Laurent, maybe Chance Moore. I don't think either of those guys are going to chuck up 5 threes, though. If they're not falling after the first couple, they might not get to 5, certainly. But to have this kind of performance and get to the line as much as he did in this final game at Boise, and what we're hoping won't be his final collegiate game, is certainly encouraging. So he was prioritized. He's the first pickup, and I like his game. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I like about Buchanan in particular from what I've seen from his tape at Boise State. There's a few things that stand out. He can score it a variety of different ways. Again, I mentioned just 32% from 3, but the ability to knock down shots from the outside. And then again, as we mentioned with his game against San Jose State, an ability to affect the game, impact the game, fill it up in a variety of ways when his shot isn't falling. Getting to the free throw line, he's really good in the post. He's got a long body. He's 6'7", 230. Mature, veteran, can provide a leadership as well. And he comes from, Boise State didn't make the tournament. They were 20-12 and 12-8 in the Mountain West, right? Not slept on. There's winning in his background in that regard. Now, he's also one of the things that stands out on tape, and this one's a little harder to explain, but when he's playing off the ball, let's say, and because a lot of times he will be, right, at 6'7", playing off the ball, late shot clock even, this has happened, but not every time I'm talking about right here, but late shot clock sometimes, and he's trying to help a teammate, right? His teammate has nowhere to go with the ball. He's really good at getting himself open, right? Not like an Otter Huff where he's running around screen after screen after screen. He seems to, and again, I watched his highlights, not his lowlights, but he seems to have a knack for getting himself in lanes where his teammate can find him for an easy bucket. Or having an ability to, late shot clock again, get open. He's handed the ball at the top of the key or in the middle of the paint with 5 seconds. He's going up with it. Everybody knows he's going up with it, and he finishes. Really, really good. He's got a silky smooth jumper, especially in the mid-range. Again, he's an 84% free throw shooter, and that even shows on his tape with what he's able to do in mid-range situations. He's got that down. Again, would you like to see him improve that 3-point percentage up to like 37, 38%? Absolutely. Could he do that? Absolutely. So that's one thing that sticks out in his game. 2 is the pace with which Buchanan plays. From what I can tell, and again, his NAIA tape's a little bit different, but at Boise, he's not sped up. He's not playing out of control. He's playing his own game. He's playing at a pace that he likes to play with. And it's not overly fast, right? Can he run in transition? Yes. Can he fill a lane and dunk on someone? Yes. But in half-court situations, he plays at his own pace. He's not sped up. Not going to turn the ball over a ton, but can be trusted with the ball in his hands, even with his 6'7" build. Can create for himself more than maybe some guys that we've seen in Morgantown recently with his stature, with his frame. Can handle the ball pretty well at 6'7". And so if I were to compare his game to someone, I don't know how familiar you guys might be with Kyle Anderson of the NBA. He's been in the league a number of years now, still going at it. And, he's not a guy that's, an all-star or anything like that, but he's a guy at 6'8", 230, so similar in that regard to Buchanan. He's just not sped up. He plays at his game. Now, Buchanan, I think, certainly in the college ranks, is more prone to show his athleticism. Kyle Anderson, not known for his athleticism. He's known for, kind of being a point forward at times, slowing the game down, running the show, filling lane, just being crafty, even without the most explosive athleticism. But I don't know, just watching his tape kind of gives you Kyle Anderson vibes. And Kyle Anderson doesn't shoot a lot of threes, and so he's not, Buchanan shoots a little bit more, better free throw shooter than Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson just a guy that does a little bit of everything, and Buchanan brings versatility in that regard that you like. There was someone on Locked On West Virginia that commented, they say they see some, to give a West Virginia comp, they see some Jermaine Haley in Buchanan. And I'd agree with that too. I think Haley certainly more of a point forward than Buchanan is, though Buchanan can handle the ball. I mean, Jermaine Haley played point guard for us at times for West Virginia. And you're not going to see Buchanan do that. But as far as what they can do and what they bring to the table and, doing things off the bounce, finding open teammates, filling lanes, and just doing some of the little things, Javin Buchanan, he does that. And so I like this pickup. I like the priority with which this was done, because he was clearly a high priority for West Virginia. Javin Buchanan, Boise State transfer, 6'7". He's a guy that averaged almost 13 points a game at Boise State this past season. Will be interesting to see, if he's able to play in Morgantown, but what's that number going to be? Will it be around there? Because, again, Mountain West isn't a conference to sleep on. So he was already doing it against some good competition. Will it be around 10? I think he's certainly capable of being a double-figure scorer for West Virginia. It won't be the team's first option, maybe not the second option, but certainly can help this team, and I like it. I like it a lot. So as we close out this episode, just some names to monitor for you as, again, portal season is in full swing, as we can see. Some other names that we've talked about, Jason Edwards of Providence, Mo Sila from Georgia Tech, the big fella, who's, I think, on a visit. I think he's in Morgantown. So keep an eye on that, man. That would be a huge commit to get, two guys that bring some size and some athleticism to Morgantown. Sila would change things drastically at the center position for West Virginia, the way he runs the floor, the difference maker that he can be on both ends of the floor, a lob threat, versatile defender. I just that could be a really good get for West Virginia. A few other names, Cameron Taylor, UNC Asheville. We talked about him. He's certainly garnering some interest from a lot of teams, and rightfully so. Deshaun Good is someone that I knew a little bit about, but one of you actually, if you're watching, you can say, yeah, that was me. One of you commented his name. One of my thoughts on him, I knew the name. I knew he was from Fairmont. I knew he was at Robert Morris, but you do a deeper dive on him, and that could be an interesting name to watch. And I like the idea. He's only he only just finished his sophomore season, and I like that idea. If you are confident you can get these guys for a couple of years, the difference that could even make, which is continuity, having the same roster, having less turnover next year, because even though we're upset with DJ Thomas is leaving, this guy's, Jane Forsythe's out, we're rebuilding again. Truth be told, West Virginia's starting five and their sixth man, counting Chance Moore, they're all seniors. We knew what we were signing up for. But to think of a possibility, Mo Sila was only a freshman last year. Deshaun Good, he's a sophomore. There's a couple other guys we've mentioned that aren't upperclassmen. If you bring them in for a couple years, the difference that could make and the jump that you could make from one year to the next. But Deshaun Good from Robert Morris averaged 15 points, 8 boards, almost 9 boards a game as a sophomore. Started in 32 out of 33 contests, 30 minutes per game, and unbelievably efficient. This was the one thing I didn't know until one of you commented, and I was like, wow, 63% from the field and 57% from three. Now, he's not Honor Huff taking 9 threes a game, but he was taking 2 threes a game, 63 attempts on the season from three, and he made 36 of them. To me, I'm like, well, why didn't you shoot more? Because you were knocking them down at such an efficient rate. 76% from the free throw line. And again, a connection. He's from Fairmont. He's right there. Certainly, I would say make the call and see what you can do. And you like the possibility of having, depth that you can have off the bench. I've mentioned it so many times recently. To me, it's not just about the starting five. It's how can you go 8, 9, 10 deep with players that you like, with players that you think can have an impact. Deshaun Good, I mean, you think about now, again, this is wishful thinking and trying to still want to proceed with caution, right? Because we don't know where these guys are going to go. But if Buchanan's here and he can play, that's someone, on the wings. Deshaun Good, right? If West Virginia is interested in him, he averaged 15 points a game. Robert Morris, 9 boards, 6'8". That's size. Mo Sila, Georgia Tech, true center. If he commits, that's size, right? And then you're 1 or 2, bigs away, maybe just one, right? Because if you play those guys at the 4 and the 5, whatever who's going to start. Again, I'm getting really hypothetical, and probably none of this is going to happen. But if you get Buchanan, Good, and Sila, you're playing them at the 4 and the 5. One of those guys coming off the bench, you get another bench piece that's a big that you can play. You know what you're looking at guards a little bit. You got some guys you're targeting. But you can see this roster taking shape. And again, my goal for this team wouldn't be to be 6 or 7 deep again. It would be to be 9 deep, 10 deep? How can you get a roster and keep them healthy where those 5 guys off the bench can make an impact? So there's certainly the guys in the portal that can do that. You got to be crafty and creative as to how you're going to go and pick them up. But that's something to keep an eye on as this thing moves forward. But it is nice to have the first commit in your pocket. Javin Buchanan, welcome to Morgantown. Happy to have you. And here on Mountaineer Moment, we'll have you covered. All the breaking news, all the speculation your little heart can endure, we'll have you covered here on Mountaineer Moment, breaking it down over the next few episodes. So keep an eye out for future conversations coming, football, basketball related, here on Mountaineer Moment. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's continue to grow this community. We'll see you next time. But until then, let's go Mountaineers.